Keith Richards and Elton John are, by any measure, titans of music. Richards, the indomitable heart of the Rolling Stones, has spent a lifetime perfecting the art of the riff, his every chord dripping with swagger and defiance. Elton John, with his kaleidoscopic spectacles and glittering costumes, has become the soundtrack of countless lives, his piano-driven ballads touching on themes both universal and deeply personal. But where their talents have carved them places in music history, their personalities have set them on a collision course, resulting in one of the longest-running feuds in the industry. Their enmity is not one of those modern, social media-fueled spats designed to generate clicks and attention. No, this is the real thing. A simmering, decades-long saga filled with barbed comments, wounded pride, and the occasional dose of theatrical venom. To understand how they've reached such an impasse, one has to start with their origins. Two very different paths leading to the same glittering spotlight. Keith Richards emerged from the smoky clubs of 1960s London as a member of the Rolling Stones. A band whose very name has become synonymous with rebellion. His guitar work was raw, primal, and drenched in blues, the perfect foil for Mick Jagger's charismatic preening. Richards was the cool one, the one who embodied everything dangerous and alluring about rock and roll. Over the decades, as the Stones grew into one of the most enduring bands in history, Richards became something more than a guitarist. He was a survivor, a human middle finger to the laws of mortality, still swaggering across stages long after his contemporaries had hung up their leather trousers. But with that immortality came a sharp tongue. Richards has never shied away from criticizing his peers, delivering his verdicts with the same ferocity as one of his solos, David Bowie. A nice guy, but a bit of a poser. Led Zeppelin. All flash, no substance. It's not that Richards dislikes his fellow musicians. On the contrary, he has enormous respect for some, but he has always viewed himself as the arbiter of what is real, what is authentic in the world of rock.
Legends.
Bowie, Prince.
Natural attrition.
Natural.
And for Richards, Elton John has long failed to meet that standard. Elton John, by contrast, is the epitome of excess. Where Richards is all grit and grime, Elton is pure glamour. His rise to fame in the 1970s was meteoric, fueled by anthems like Your Song, Rocket Man, and Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. While Richards prowled stages with a cigarette dangling from his lips.
You've been a great friend to our show and a great friend to me. Thank you very much. I don't know if you remember the first time you came on this program, you were smoking.
Oh.
Elton dazzled audiences in feathered boas and sequined jumpsuits. His performances were spectacles, his music an emotional outpouring that resonated with fans across generations. Yet, beneath the glitter, Elton John is a formidable artist and businessman. His ability to churn out hits with lyricist Bernie Taupin is unmatched, and his impact on popular culture is immense. But for all his accolades, Elton has never been one to ignore a slight, nor has he ever felt the need to play down his achievements for the sake of decorum. In this, he is the perfect foil to Richards, extravagant, unapologetically sentimental, and ready to retaliate at the first hint of criticism. The first real shot in their feud came in 1988, when Richards offered his infamous assessment of Elton. Lovely bloke, but posing. On the surface, it was a backhanded compliment, the kind of thing that might provoke a chuckle and a shrug. But to Elton, it was a direct attack on his authenticity, a suggestion that his flamboyant persona was nothing more than artifice. For an artist who had built a career on baring his soul, it was an unforgivable insult. Richards, of course, was just getting started. His true contempt for Elton became apparent in 1997, when Elton re-released Candle in the Wind as a tribute to Princess Diana. The song, originally written about Marilyn Monroe, was reworked with new lyrics and performed at Diana's funeral, becoming one of the best-selling singles of all time. For many, it was a poignant moment, a balm for a grieving nation. For Richards, it was pure schmaltz. An old bitch, he sneered, dismissing Elton's effort as little more than a calculated grab for attention. His writing is limited to songs about dead blondes. The comment was vintage Richards, brutal, biting, and utterly dismissive. But it also revealed something deeper, a disdain for the kind of sentimentality that Elton so effortlessly wields. If Richards thought Elton would take the insult lying down, he was sorely mistaken. During an interview with the New York Daily News, Elton fired back with a vengeance.
Every time I see the show, and I've seen it a lot of times, I've seen it a lot of times in Great Britain, I've seen it in Australia, and now I'll be seeing it here.
I'm glad I've given up drugs and alcohol, he said. It would be awful to be like Keith Richards. He's pathetic, poor thing. It's like a monkey with arthritis, trying to go on stage and look young. It was a devastating blow, the kind of remark that lingers in the public consciousness. Where Richards had attacked Elton's music, Elton went for the jugular, ridiculing Richards' physicality and longevity. And if that wasn't enough, Elton suggested that the Rolling Stones would have been better off had they thrown Keith out 15 years ago. The insults have continued over the years, each man seemingly unable to resist taking the occasional potshot. In 2018, Richards dismissed Elton's farewell tour, declaring he wouldn't miss him once he retired. "There'll be more room for us," he quipped, as though Elton's exit from the stage was akin to clearing space in a crowded pub. For Elton, the bitterness seemed to have cooled, or perhaps he had simply said everything he needed to say, while his public remarks about Richards have grown less frequent.
Sat on the roof and kicked out the mud.
The memory of that monkey with arthritis comment continues to loom large. What drives such animosity between two men who, on the surface, should have much in common? Both are survivors of a brutal industry, both have achieved levels of fame and success most can only dream of, and both have overcome personal demons to remain at the top of their game. But it is their differences that fuel their feud. Richards is the ultimate purist, a man who sees rock and roll as a sacred art form. His disdain for anything he perceives as inauthentic runs deep, and Elton's theatricality is an affront to that worldview. For Elton, Richards represents the kind of sneering elitism that he has spent his life fighting against. Elton's music is for everyone.
When are you gonna come down? When are you going to lie?
Not just the cool kids in the smoky back room, and he refuses to apologize for its emotional impact. Ultimately, the feud between Keith Richards and Elton John is about more than just music or personality clashes. It is a reflection of two opposing philosophies, two visions of what it means to be a rock star. For Richards, authenticity is everything. For Elton, it is the ability to connect with an audience, to make them feel something, even if that something is wrapped in glitter and sentimentality. And yet, there is a strange kind of symmetry to their animosity. Both men are icons, their careers intertwined with the history of popular music. Their feud has become a part of that history, a subplot in the larger narrative of rock and roll. In their insults and jabs, they have created something that is, in its own way, as memorable as their music. Perhaps in the end, that is the ultimate irony, that two men who have spent so much time tearing each other down have, in the process, cemented each other's place in the public imagination. Whether they like it or not, Keith Richards and Elton John are bound together, their feud as enduring as their music. And for fans of both, that is something to celebrate.